Superman, the Kryptonite Spectrum issue 1, W. Maxwell Prince and Martin Morazzo is on the art. So people were hyping this up because of some of this writer's previous work. I had never read any of the previous work, so I really didn't know what to expect. This is a Black Label book. This is a longer first issue. It's about 40 pages, give or take. And I think up front, I will say that I'm not completely in love with it. I do think it's a little bit wordy, and it takes a little bit to get going. Like, there's a lot of narration from Superman in those first several pages where I felt like, oh, this is taking ages to get anywhere. Yeah. That said, though, once it does get to what the book's about, which is the idea that there's this asteroid that's got a bunch of new types of kryptonite on it, it establishes what the four main types are that we know, and obviously there's been comics in the past with more, but like this is the four that typically come up the most, right? Which is green kryptonite, obviously, red, which they say here makes him angry, which is one of the main interpretations, gold, which takes away powers, and black, which splits his mind in two, right? That's what they establish here. And then they found more. The robots have helped him carve it out. Lex is pissed because he finds out about it late, and he's mad that Superman already knows about it because Lex wants his grubby little mitts on them, of course.
He fires Professor Hamilton and takes away his 401k, and he's like, "Sir, I'm retiring in 2 years." He's like, not anymore, you're not. So again, Petty Lex, big fan of that. But
my only thing is I wish it was like 2 months instead of 2 years. I think it would be even funnier if it was much closer. But yeah, that's fair. So Superman wants Batman's help because he needs the world's greatest detective and, a scientist and whatnot. Okay, what do we do here? So there's the four new types of kryptonite are purple, which is purple, obviously. Cobalt, which is blue. Why didn't just call it blue kryptonite? I mean...
Well, because blue kryptonite is bizarro kryptonite, right? And then also it says at the end of this issue that cobalt's also translucent, right? Okay. So this is like a translucent blue kryptonite.
But they didn't bring up the regular blue kryptonite. So I because this is a Black Label book, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't exist, right? Because this is not in continuity. So I'm just making that clear. Then there's speckled kryptonite, which is kind of like black with little white dots. And then the fourth one is rainbow kryptonite, which has got a little bit of all the colors just kind of swirling around like a prism. So it's like, okay, this is interesting. And this issue proceeds to be like Superman and Batman arguing about what to do. Superman basically says, let's start testing them on me and see what happens. And Batman's like, that's a terrible idea. Something really, really bad could happen. Why would we do that? Especially since like the gold stuff is like takes away his powers forever. Like, what if one of these is
we don't know.
Yeah,
we don't know what any of these do.
What if one of them's like, hey, forever you're going to shit blood, and that's it. There's no reverse of it because you've touched purple kryptonite. Like,
Well, and they even bring up like, what if it turns him into like Doomsday? Right? Yeah. There's no way to stop him.
Who knows?
Like, but in the name of science, they end up doing it. Which I will say, I think the strength here in this issue is kind of the writing and the banter, especially. So we get a lot of the banter with Lex and Hamilton, but then Clark and Bruce and all of that type of stuff. It really sings, and there's a lot of witty, like every page here, there's something that I can be like, oh yeah, that was funny, or that was a good point. Yeah. So I would really say that is the strength of this.
No, I agree.
And all that.
I think the characters are what make this work. I think the art's nice and clean as well. Like, I ended up enjoying it, but I definitely felt the length. Like, it definitely felt like a long book because it was so wordy relative to its page count.
Yeah, I had to read this in like 3 parts because I'd get to a part and then my brain would start to wander. And I'm like, all right, I need to give this my full attention because it's the first new Black Label. A friend from work had read it on Wednesday and told me like, oh, it's so great. And I was like, all right, I'll see where it sets up at. And it was very wordy and it was going through a lot of stuff. And when they, the beginning is Clark going through his past again, I was like, jeez, all right, I get it. New reader friendly, whatever. But as I would say, when we get to about the Grundy type stuff, and this is not just me being a Grundy fan, I feel like the book really picks up because then it has a point of view. There's stuff happening and it's a much faster read.
Yeah, there was definitely some narration at the start that bugged me though. Like, it felt like some of the phrases were intentionally kind of like, we want Clark to sound like he's, I guess hipstery, but there was a sentence in the first panel, it'd be too much to scroll back to now, but like it really bugged me because the phrasing was just kind of like pretentious or something. Yeah, so anyway, the rest of the issue, of course, is about testing this. They strap him down, they expose him to a small bit of purple kryptonite, and it's like, okay, what does this do? And there's a little bit of narration that kind of indicates that, you know, there's almost a bit of irony in Superman saying there's no time like the present. So you kind of have the idea that it's going to be time related. So basically, the purple kryptonite makes him perceive time differently. So there's these like purple speech bubbles, either from Clark or from Batman at different points. And the idea is that he's hearing or having parts of a conversation that's not happened yet. And he sees things that haven't happened yet a bit later as well. They do this thing where once they end up in, because he mentions Grundy as one of these purple speech bubbles, and it's like, what's Grundy got to do with that? And immediately we cut to Lex saying, get Grundy. We need to get Grundy stomping around Metropolis to lure out Superman. And they do this little motif when Superman and Batman go to Metropolis to fight Grundy. They do this thing where, like, Superman's like seeing the fight and saving people out of order, so it happens like really hodgepodged all over the place. But they compare it to a calendar, in all the boxes on a calendar, so it eventually builds up to this 2-page spread where Superman's kind of like putting them on like post-it notes, and it's like all the panels you've already seen, and him try to put them in order. I thought it was a really inventive way to show and convey what they were doing with this purple kryptonite. It was like a really like smart way of presenting it.
Yeah, I was worried that they weren't going to do that and they were just going to have us piece it together, which you easily could if you're reading the book pretty intently, with just, you know, how we know that superhero books are structured. But the fact that we do that, it's Superman that goes into his own brain, kind of into this headspace, and assembles it together like a calendar, I thought that was really fun.
Yeah, and then the other thing, of course, they tease here is that Superman starts seeing a date that he has with Lois later, where it sounds like they're kind of breaking up because she's like, I want kids and I'm in my 40s and time's running out. So obviously this is very out of continuity. This is a very different relationship to what we're used to with the present continuity of DC. But it's like, okay, so there's some relationship troubles, which Superman seems to be taking in his stride, or at least he's pretending that it's not real or something. I was almost expecting him to be a bit worried later on. Although they pull a bit of a switcheroo at the end where he's like, oh, I need to go and get ready for my date with Lois, and then Batman says that was last night. And I'm like, oh god, how confused is his brain? Because he's not had that, he's not experienced that date yet, other than a couple of quick flashes.
Right.
So, yeah.
And that's what Batman even tells him, that it's this type of thing they'll have to watch out for, and he can kind of help him because he deals with Scarecrow doing this kind of stuff to him.
He compares it to Scarecrow gas, which is a fair comparison, I think. You know, it's interesting because basically it's because of the ultimate effect, really. I mean, obviously it's specifically this time thing, but he's like, the ultimate effect is that you're pretty disorientated and don't really know what's real or not yet. And it's worth mentioning as well that Lex, like, when he's reviewing the like footage of the fight in Metropolis, he's like, oh, I saw a look in his eyes that really like basically got Lex like erect. He's like, oh, he looked like he was confused. He didn't know what he was doing. Like I've never seen him look like that before. I need to get my hands on whatever this is that's caused this. So I'm like, okay, I assume that, you know, one per issue we're going to like get the reveals of like what each of these things, because obviously we only get the purple one in this. So next time presumably we'll get the cobalt and we'll see what that does. In fact, well, I guess it kind of teases it at the end, but like we'll get more context for it. I mean, it looks like in the last page that it makes him go super size. It looks like he's like, you know, like 25 foot tall compared to roughly what size Batman is.
Kaiju Superman.
Kaiju Superman, yeah.
Yeah, there's also a panel that we don't get to that has Lex in him. And Lex got him by like the neck, and he says, "Home hurt you." So, that I'm sure is a piece of the story that's gonna come.
I think that's referring to. I mean, obviously, I don't know the context of the scene that you're seeing because of the time travel stuff, but earlier on, Superman kept calling the kryptonite pieces of home. So I think that's like home hurt you is like the kryptonite hurts you. I will say Superman's arguments when he's like saying to Batman, because Batman's arguments when they're first debating what they should do with the kryptonite is Batman's like, we don't know what it'll do to you. Let's just destroy it. Let's go in the incinerator and just like completely get rid of it. And Superman's like, no, but that's my home. And I'm like, really, Clark? You feel like a connection, like just because it happens to be material that was part of Krypton once? Like literally all this stuff does is either hurt you, make you act weird, or, you know, whatever. Like
Like, there's an easy way around that. It's like, well, we got to know what it does in case people get their hands on it, because we don't know if there's more of this somewhere out in space.
That's a fair argument. Yeah, it's like, hey, in case someone like sneakily like puts this near you, we have to know what's like done this to you, so we can maybe know how to deal with it. Like, I get that argument, and that would be fine. But I did think Superman's arguments were a little bit. I don't know. They felt a little bit less than smart, I guess, as well.
No, for sure too, because he has the Superman robots, right? Which they have a cool design where they're just big walking Superman shields with arms and legs. Like little, not quite tentacles, but tentacle-esque. And he's got the fortress. Krypto's there. He has ties to Krypton in the story, so
hey,
you don't need space rocks, man.
Is it a bit mean to say they should have tested it with Krypto instead of Superman?
Yes, don't do that. Krypto's a good boy. All right. Lex would have tested it on Krypto. Lex is a bad man. So,
admittedly, Krypto wouldn't be able to tell them what was happening with the purple, but they definitely see the effect of the cobalt on him.
The dog, like, I've heard stories of dogs getting into edibles and just being all spaced out, and that's essentially what have happened to Krypto. He's just spaced out, not knowing what's going on.
Very funny.
Which I also like that Krypto, as Batman's coming into the fortress, he grabs him by the cape, and he's like, "Yeah, no down, boy. He's supposed to be here." You know, so that was fun.
Yeah, and then Batman reveals that he's probably sensing the little bit of kryptonite in his belt, which Batman's like, "Hey, I've got a contingency in case something happens to you." And this is, again, the continuity thing coming into play, where Superman's kind of a little bit, I don't like that you have that. Whereas in mainline continuity, like, Superman's very much, no, someone needs to be able to take me down, and I trust Batman to do it if the need ever arises. Right. So that's one of those things where, whenever there's like a Superman TV show or something, and like he's pissed that someone's got kryptonite that's a good character, or the Supergirl TV show did it as well, where I'm like, nah, like, someone needs to be able to take down Kryptonians. I mean, especially since you've already had stories where evil Kryptonians show up, and maybe you're not around. Yeah. Like, someone needs to be able to take down a Kryptonian. It needs to be there, okay?
For sure.
Anyway, I think I liked it in the end. I definitely felt the length early on, and the heavy narration was... Once it got to, like, him interacting with Batman, or Lex interacting with his scientist, once it got to that stuff, I got into it a lot more, and I was enjoying kind of them playing with these new kryptonite ideas. So I think I'm in for more issues. Like, I think I'm into it, but it definitely didn't, like, knock me out of, like, the park immediately. I was kind of like, it took me a little bit to kind of get to what it was, doing, to sort of realize that, okay, I think I'm into it, but, not without some faults.
And I would say the art is mostly good as well. I have a problem with some of the faces.
Sure.
It's very Frank Quitely-esque, which is nice. Again.
I was going to say it's going for All-Star Superman and sort of vibes. I would say, in terms of the very sort of like lots of white backgrounds, lots of sort of like flat muted colors. It's got that kind of style going for it. So. And
so I'd say sometimes the faces take me out a little bit, but for the most part they're always very expressive. And the breakdowns are nice, and the way that the fighting happens and out of order and all this, it's very competently made. It's just one of those things that I guess it comes down to taste, and sometimes a wonky face takes me out.
Sure, yeah. All right, what are you giving Superman the Kryptonite Spectrum issue 1?
I'm gonna give a solid. I'll bump it to the 8.5.
Okay. I think I'm on 7.5. Like, I don't think it quite hit great for me, but I do like a lot of what it's doing, and I think I'm, I think I'll probably quite appreciate this once it's done, and it's like a, like a hardcover you can hard to someone and say, hey, this is an interesting Superman story. I'm curious to see where they're going with the Lois stuff, though, just because, like, okay, why are you introducing this idea that she wants to break up because she wants kids? It just feels like it's a very specific choice, so I'm wondering what the point of it is once we get further in the story. Maybe it'll end with him wanting to have a kid with her because he wants to continue his legacy in other ways that aren't just radioactive bits of rock that hurt him.